Hey everyone, and welcome to What Did I Miss?, where today I'll be breaking down the penultimate episode of Better Call Saul. This episode was ripe with references to the history of Jimmy and Kim, as well as to Breaking Bad. But at its core, this is an episode about how these characters deal with remorse. Even though the events on Breaking Bad are shocking and more earth-shattering than those that occurred during Better Call Saul, this episode shows the audience how Jimmy and Kim were already broken before the events that took place on the series occurred. As hard as it has been to watch Jimmy become Saul and now Gene, it was even harder to see Kim 6 years from the last time we saw her as a shell of her former self and unable to make the smallest decision, after her strength and her ponytail have come to define her character over these past 6 seasons.
You don't save me. I save me.
So here I want to discuss this episode and what it means for these characters, as well as point out all the clever references that Vince Gilligan was able to sneak in. But before I do, I want to thank you for clicking on this video, and ask that if you do enjoy it to hit that like button, like you are Marion watching another cat video. The episode titled Waterworks is not only a reference to the sprinkler company that Kim now works for, but also because of her emotional breakdown later in the episode. When we meet Kim in Florida, we see that she has devolved into a person that follows the most mundane aspects of life that she can find. This is how she has chosen to not only deal with the events that led to the death of Howard Hamlin and the end of her relationship with Jimmy, but also possibly as a way to punish herself for being able to move on. Survivor's guilt or survivor syndrome is a type of response a person can have who survives a traumatic event that others did not, which can impact them emotionally, physically, and psychologically. In an effort to deal with these effects, people who suffer from this will often create lives for themselves based around a tedious routine that prevents them from thinking about their ordeal. It appears that Kim's new life in Florida is just that, as she now is unable to make even the simplest decision, and even the ones that she does make really don't matter. Neither her or Jimmy were able to properly deal with the events that occurred surrounding the death of Howard and the part that they played in it, and both chose to revert to the personality that perhaps society expected of them. Instead of fighting for the rights of less fortunate people, Kim now lives a meaningless existence, working for a sprinkler company with boring friends and an even worse boyfriend. Jimmy, on the other hand, went the other way and became Saul Goodman, the sleazy lawyer that he believed that everyone, including his late brother, always thought he would turn out to be. Even though Jimmy's life as Saul is flashier than Kim's life in Florida, it really does not make it any less sad, now that we know the circumstances of what caused Jimmy to become Saul. Honestly, I really think that this was the mission statement of the series, and if so, then you have to say that they were able to successfully pull it off. This episode begins in 2004, seemingly months or maybe even weeks after we witnessed Kim leave Jimmy earlier this season. He is bouncing a rubber ball against the wall, which may be one of the balls that he used to bounce when working at the cell phone store in the show's 4th season. We learn that this is the moment before he and Kim sign their divorce papers and completely end their relationship. I think that Jimmy making Kim wait is just another sign that this is no longer Jimmy McGill that we or Kim are dealing with. It is Saul Goodman, a man who does not care about anything anymore but money and has no problem making his soon-to-be ex-wife sit in a crowded waiting room for an hour. It is worth noting that Saul's office has already been renovated to look like the one we see on Breaking Bad, confirming that Saul did receive his share of the Sandpiper Crossing settlement after Howard's death. After the intro, which has now all but completely deteriorated into a blue screen, we jump ahead 6 years to 2010 and see Kim. The first thing that is noticeable is that she no longer is wearing her hair the same way, and it is a different color. This is our first indication that Kim, like Jimmy as Saul, is a completely different character now. She may not have changed her name like Jimmy did, but not only does she look and dress different, but her personality is lost. Nothing in her life now has any meaning after she had dedicated herself to serving people as a lawyer. This wasted existence is exemplified when we see Kim working on a puzzle that appears to be all white and has no picture to create, almost like she is working on building towards nothing at all. This life is interrupted when she receives a call at work from Victor St. Clair. This is the same alias that Jimmy used while working at Con with Kim, using the name Giselle, in the 2nd season episode Switch. This is also the other end of the phone call that we watched Jimmy as Gene make in the prior episode. He tries to make some sort of connection with Kim, but she is unable to deal with him as the guilt over what they are responsible for is too great. In the last episode, Francesca told Jimmy that Kim contacted her after the final events shown on Breaking Bad to see if she was okay, so this tells us that Kim knows what has happened and possibly Jimmy's role in those events. But honestly, I don't think she cares as much about what Jimmy did as Saul Goodman, but more so what they did together and got away with. To that point, once Kim tells Jimmy that he should turn himself in, he rightfully turns the table on the conversation and asks why she doesn't do the same. Finally, Kim tells Jimmy that she is glad that he is alive and hangs up the phone, then joins her co-workers to sing happy birthday. This is the day of the infamous phone call that we have been tracking since it was first mentioned in the Better Call Saul episode Quite a Ride.
Okay, and where are you going to be November 12th at 3 p.m.?
I'll be there, but if it doesn't ring at 3 on the dot, I'm gone.
Don't worry, it's going to ring.
So we also know that this occurs on Jimmy's birthday. So in a way, Kim is singing happy birthday to Jimmy in this scene. Kim then decides to fly to Albuquerque, and there are many callbacks to Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad on this trip. First, the shot of Kim arriving from the airport is very similar to the one of Walt leaving the airport in the Breaking Bad episode titled 4 Days Out. Ironically though, in that episode of Breaking Bad, Walter White is using the airport to lie to his family about what he has done, whereas in this episode of Better Call Saul, Kim is walking through the same doors to confess to something that she has done. As the bus arrives, we see signs for Frontier and Alaska. While these are the names of airlines, this is also foreshadowing the appearance of Jesse Pinkman, who, like Kim, was able to move on from these events. But in his case, instead of living in guilt in Florida, he is living in the Alaska frontier after the events shown in the film El Camino. Kim then passes through the entry gate at the courthouse parking lot, which is now automated. This is the same booth that Mike Ehrmantraut worked at during the first few seasons of Better Call Saul. Although Kim did not know Mike while he worked at the courthouse, she remembered that he used to work in the booth when they first met earlier this season.
I do know you. You worked in the parking booth at the courthouse. You're the attendant.
While waiting for the elevator, Kim sees another lawyer prepare her client for court. The woman reminds Kim of the life that she used to have and had to give up, and the woman even sports the signature ponytail that Kim used to have. Afterwards, Kim travels to meet with Howard Hamlin's widow and gives her a copy of the statement that she made to the court about her involvement in her late husband's murder. Even in this act of contrition, Kim seems to show little emotion and is only there to give Howard's widow closure. However, after leaving her home and traveling back to Florida, Kim is flooded with emotion as she finally has the weight of her guilty conscience lifted. Everything that has happened to Kim since Howard was shot has happened because she refused to deal with anything or fight back. Instead of working through the pain with Jimmy, she chose to leave him. Instead of continuing on as a lawyer and defending people that need her, she quit her job and moved away. Instead of living a life of consequence, Kim is now living a life where her actions resound to nothing. Kim has not been able to deal with a single confrontation up until this point, and now that she has admitted her guilt to both the court and Howard's widow, she can begin to try and heal from it. At one point while she is sobbing, you can see a woman's hand come into frame and try to console her. That hand belongs to actress Holly Rice, who is also Vince Gilligan's wife. Meanwhile, Jimmy as Gene is still trying to break into a man's house who he had met last episode. He goes through his things and finds that the man has over $737,000 in an account. This is the same amount of money that Walter White told Jesse that he needed to make from selling meth in the Breaking Bad episode 737.
737. $737,000, that's what I need.
Gene takes his time in the man's house for some reason, and it appears that much like Kim, he wants to be caught because of what he has done. But instead of giving up, he wants to go out like Saul Goodman. While there, a cop car pulls up to stop for a break in front of the house. Jeff is also waiting there in a cab for Gene and decides to slam his car into another in front of them. I'm not sure if Jeff did this because he got nervous or if he did this specifically so that Gene could get away while the police were dealing with him. But either way, it was a surprisingly funny moment in a pretty serious episode. Next, we are taken back to 2004 and witness Kim and now Saul signing their divorce papers. Both are already fully engrossed in their new personalities, as Saul acts like a jerk to Kim and she refuses to say anything of consequence to him. As she leaves, she passes a client of Saul's named Emilio. This is the same character that will be the first person we see Walter White kill in the pilot episode of Breaking Bad. Kim then walks outside, and the camera slowly pans to show that outside with her is none other than Jesse Pinkman. The way the camera moves to reveal Jesse is very similar to the way the camera was used in the final scene between Walter White and Skyler in the Breaking Bad episode Felina. The situation also establishes how Saul Goodman will become involved with Jesse and Walter White in the future. Jesse tells Walter about how Saul got Emilio off more than once when he convinces Walt to hire Saul in the Breaking Bad episode titled Better Call Saul.
You remember Emilio? Okay, this dude got Emilio off like twice. Okay, both times they had him dead to rights, yo, and then poof.
Speaking of characters that needed legal representation, Jesse remembers Kim because she got his friend Combo off of some charges. Combo was a member of Jesse's crew that ended up getting shot by a rival drug gang in the episode Mandela. The story then shifts back to 2010 with Jeff calling Gene to come help him now that he has been arrested. Gene seems to be right back into his old ways as Saul when he calls up Jeff's mother Marion to help bail Jeff out. However, his hubris gets the best of him, and Gene lets it slip that he may not be who he made himself out to be, when he references the Bond details to Marion and discusses Albuquerque after first telling her that he has never been there before.
Don't worry about a bondsman either, because guess what? In Omaha, they don't have them. Right? You just walk into the station, you pay a straight cash bail. It's not like Albuquerque at all.
When Gene arrives at the house, he notices that Marion is startled by something. He opens it up to find that she is watching the same commercial that we heard him watch in the first episode of Better Call Saul. Also, the commercial appears as color in the reflection of his glasses, showing how important this life is to Saul's character. At one point, it looks like he may hurt Marion, but in the end, he allows her to call for help, and he leaves as we hear sirens approach. This scene in the second to last episode of Better Call Saul is very similar to the last scene of the second to last episode of Breaking Bad, titled Granite State, where we saw Walter leave a bar as he heard the police descend on his location. Both episodes were also written and directed by Vince Gilligan. Well, that was everything I saw, but let me know in the comments if I missed anything. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit that like button if you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time on What Did I Miss?